What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Fossil Cup submitted to the channel by Random Mystic Chick, who's running the newly released Volcanion, a mythical Pokemon with a completely unique dual typing of fire and water. Now this Pokemon was available to catch in the in-person Go Fest, but if you didn't attend any of those you will get the chance to catch it during the Global Go Fest, but unfortunately you need a really bad IV1 for it to fit into the Great League, and since it's a mythical Pokemon, you can't trade it, meaning the majority of people will never have access to a Great League Volcanion. So if you do catch one at or below 1500 CP, I would definitely recommend keeping it in the Great League, even if it's not the best Pokemon for this league. Now as for its moveset, it has access to Incinerate, which is always great for a fire Pokemon to have, and for the charge moves, it's got Sludge Bomb, Overheat, Earth Power, and Hydro Pump, so a lot of variety, but not necessarily the best charge moves to have. Initially, its trainer ran Hydro Pump, but the high energy cost and the fact that a lot of Pokemon actually resist water in this meta meant that they changed it over to Overheat later. Now Sludge Bomb is actually the cheapest move, however, like Hydro Pump, it is resisted by a lot of Pokemon in this meta, so maybe doesn't make an awful lot of sense, and Earth Power is decent coverage. But anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Now actually, before we get into the question of the day, I want to give a quick couple of shout outs to Arctic Cat and Super Broker for the gifted memberships in yesterday's live stream. As always, the support is very much appreciated. And with that being said, let's finally get into the question of the day. With the introduction of bottle caps, would you like to see a similar item where you can actually decrease a Pokemon's stats, allowing certain Pokemon to fit into the Great League for the first time? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know which Pokemon you would use it on if that was an item that existed in Pokemon Go. And with that being said, let's just get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle, and I will say apologies for the quality of the video recording. Of course, I had nothing to do with this, but not ideal for us. Either way, we should still be able to watch this and not squint our eyes too much. It's not going to be the worst thing ever. But anyways, we're going to shield here as the opponent goes for a Trailblaze, boosting up their attack, but it doesn't matter. One more Incinerate gets the full farm down there, and we've got a ton of energy. The opponent is going to come back in with Galissapod, and this is probably the main reason why we did eventually swap out Hydro Pump, because Galissapod unfortunately resists both Earth Power and Hydro Pump here. So whilst Incinerate's hitting for neutral damage, Earth Power gonna be no shielded, and it doesn't really do much damage. However, the opponent does overfarm massively, so at this point we definitely just let the Volcanion go down. Aqua Jet gets the KO, and their final Pokemon gonna be Registeel. We actually come in with the Taurus there, expecting an instant swap from the opponent, and it works out perfectly for us. We can go straight for the Aqua Jet, outpacing the Registeel. Definitely gonna shield, respect the damage from the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon does not debuff our attack, and the opponent recognizing there's not a lot they can do anymore, so they just concede the match. Into the next battle, seeing Galissapod in the lead once again. This time the opponent not swapping out straight away. The opponent eventually going to swap, trying to catch a Thunder, but we hold onto the energy, and once again Volcanion hitting for huge damage with those Incinerates. We're going to shield up the drill run there. I actually don't know the stats of Volcanion. I don't know if it's glassy or if it's got some decent bulk to it, but either way, we do shield that up. It is super effective. You can see Aqua Jet does big damage there. We're only reaching one move, so might as well go for the Stab Hydro Pump, and that does big damage in return, despite being resisted. We're now going to come back in with the Taurus here, and the opponent is not going to be on Aerial Ace there, and their final Pokemon going to be a Macargo, so this is amazing for the Taurus. Taurus absolutely walls Macargo. However, we are fairly low already, so at this point it's not game over. We're going to have to shield this as the opponent fires off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is resisted, however it would probably get the KO, or if not it would put us into Incinerate farm down range. We go for the Aqua Jet, we need to swap out into Ferrothorn. Great combination play there, firing off the Power Whip. Power Whip gets the KO, and we do reach a second Power Whip up against Galissapod, and of course from this range it gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So heading into the next battle, we see Ferrothorn into Macargo, so this is awful for us. Going to be safe swapping into our Taurus, and we're met with a Jellicent. Of course, Trailblaze going to be very useful coverage here. Trailblaze going to hit for super effective and boost up our attack. However, the boosted attack doesn't really help with the double kick damage as it is double resisted, but we're going to shield up the Shadow Ball there. We're now going to overfarm, fire for Trailblaze just before they reach Shadow Ball number 2, and Trailblaze should be grabbing a shield at this point. No, they actually no shield that. That is a very interesting decision. They then come in with Galissapod, and we don't actually farm up to the Trailblaze, but we grab a shield anyway, so that's fine with us. Unfortunately, not going to reach another charge move before they can throw their own. The opponent fires off the Aerial Ace. They're actually running Aerial Ace this time around. They swap back into Macargo. We're going to swap into Volcanion, but unfortunately, we are very much behind on energy. We're going to have to shield this up as they fire off the Rock Tomb. We're now going to look to throw on the CMP tie, and hopefully the opponent does just let this move go through here. But unfortunately, the opponent very likely to shield up the Earth Power, and at this point, it's probably going to be game over. Rock Tomb gets the KO there. We can come back in with the Ferrothorn, but I don't think a Power Whip will be enough damage to get the KO. We go for it anyways. Power Whip does not do enough damage, and they can outpace us by a single turn to the Charge Move, and of course, Overheat, easy one-shot there. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we see a Ferrothorn mirror match, so we are going to stay in this matchup, I assume, initially. Eventually look to swap out here, maybe after sponging some damage from the opponent. I don't mind this play if we do now swap into our Volcanion here, and we're going to do exactly that. We go off 1, 2 Incinerates, 3 Incinerates. Opponent, you need to swap out of here. We're going to shield this up because, unfortunately, we only take neutral damage from both the grass and the electric typing there. But either way, the opponent comes in with the cargo, and they do not realize we've got Earth Power for coverage. They then come in with Gastron, which would have been a much better response, but we still got Hydro Pump. We're full sending it, and unfortunately, it does grab a shield there. But either way, we're looking to be in a very good position. We can come in with the Taurus. We don't need to shield this, but we're going to shield at the last second. They do actually bait us with a Body Slam, but that's okay. But I'm going to fire off another Charge View straight away, this time full sending the Earth Power, but we're able to tank it. We can fire off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. Now we can swap back into Ferrothorn. Of course, we've got the Power Whip loaded. Power Whip, double super effective. It takes them out there. The opponent comes back in with their own Ferrothorn just to be fully farmed down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, seeing a Shadow Excadrill in the lead. We're actually going to swap into our Taurus immediately, and we're met with a Scizor. Now, we're actually going to go for Trailblaze. I don't mind this play just because it's pretty clear the opponent will be shielding their Scizor, and now we're dealing big damage with these double kicks. So we're going to shield. The opponent goes for their own Trailblaze, but they are hitting for resisted damage with their fast moves. We're actually choosing not to throw a Charge Move here, maybe looking to commit to a full double kick farm down. If that's the case, I don't mind, but actually we do throw at the last second. Not really sure why we did that, but either way, Aqua Jet gets the KO there, and we're going to see a Shadow Quagsire coming in. We're going straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze, not respected for some reason. They let that go through. We're now double boosted. They do actually Mudshot farm us down there, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We can come in with the Ferrothorn. We should be able to tank anything. And now, just for the sake of it, going to swap into Volcanion, go for that Incinerate farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, another mirror match here, this time swapping out straight away into Volcanion, and the opponent does eventually swap out into a Jellicent, but we did land a single Incinerate up against the Ferrothorn. Earth Power does big damage, and it drops their defense, which is very nice. We're going to no-shield this. Surf does not get the KO, and Volcanion just barely able to reach a second Earth Power. We should grab a shield here from the opponent, and we're able to do exactly that. We can now come in with the Ferrothorn, and maybe it makes sense to shield here just because, of course, their own Ferrothorn really not going to do much damage with only resisted charge moves up against ours, but they've got Macargo in the back. So at this point, firing off the Power Whip here, I guess maybe in hindsight, we probably should have not shielded up against the Jellicent there, but either way, we come in with the Taurus. We're going to have to shield this up here, but it's not looking too good. We're going for Trailblaze, expecting a shield from the opponent, and we do grab the shield. We can boost up our attack, but because we go for Trailblaze, we're actually not able to reach an Aqua Jet here, and I think if we didn't go for Trailblaze there, then of course we would reach the Aqua Jet, but I don't think without a boost, it would have got the KO anyway, so either way, it doesn't really matter for us. The opponent fires off the Power Whip here. The opponent does swap back into Macargo. Can we get the KO here with a Power Whip? Power Whip does not get the KO, and unfortunately, they now have the energy for the Overheat. Overheat gets the one shot there, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we see Credilli in the lead, so a great lead matchup for the Ferrothorn. Going to resist everything here, and they're on Acid as well, so of course Acid going to be single resisted rather than Bullet Seed being double resisted, but it doesn't really matter. The opponent fires off the Rock Tomb straight away, of course debuffing our attack here, which means this Power Whip not going to do that much damage, but it doesn't really matter. They just can't really hit us at all, so at this point, going to no-shield once again. Rock Tomb number 2 coming through. We're now going to clear the debuff, come in with our Taurus, and we're baiting out a Jellicent, going straight for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze going to connect, and of course boosting up our attack once again. The opponent going to throw just before we reach Trailblaze number 2. We shield up the Shadow Ball there. We're now going to overfarm with the Taurus and fire off a Trailblaze, looking to be on the CMP tie as well. Trailblaze going to be shielded this time around. And at this point, I think we probably just let the Taurus go down. The opponent actually baits with a Surf there, which is fine with us. We're now going to continue to overfarm. This time going for an Arc Jet. We are double boosted, so Arc Jet resisted damage, grabs a shield there. And because we go for the Arc Jet, we can now reach another charge move. And Arc Jet from this range gets the KO. They come back in with the Credilli there. And things are still looking fine for us. We come in with Volcanion. They swap instantly into Ferrothorn. And then they have to just concede the match there as we're going to get a full farm down. Come out with the charge we've loaded. But into the next battle, another mirror match. And once again, swapping out straight away into Volcanion. The opponent's going to swap into a Poliwrath. So we're going straight for Earth Power here. Earth Power is going to be shielded by the Poliwrath. And at this point, if the opponent goes for a bait with an Icy Wind, we're actually going to double resist this. So we're going to no shield. It is the Icy Wind. But Volcanion actually faints as we get to the charge move there. That is incredibly painful. And at this point, of course, going to come in with the Ferrothorn. Not really ideal as we are taking super effective damage from the counters, but we can fire off a Power Whip. Power Whip probably going to be shielded by the opponents, so we are going to stay in with the Ferrothorn. Force the opponent to throw, but they actually swap out there, trying to catch a charge move. Very well done to hold onto the energy on our Ferrothorn there, but they go for an Acid Spray, and that is really painful for us. We're actually going to go for a Trailblaze bait. I don't mind this just because any one charge move that we throw is not going to get the KO anyway, so might as well boost up our attack here. We're still going to get the farm down, but again, they go for Acid Spray, debuffing our defense by 4 stages now. So whatever comes in, we're going to take big damage, and they come in with a Razor Leaf Ludicolo. Trailblaze doesn't do much damage there. We can come in with the Ferrothorn, but again, Power Whip not going to be enough damage to get the KO. They can come in with the Poliwrath, get the counter farm down, coming out with a charge we've loaded. It doesn't matter what they throw at this point. Icy Wind gets the KO there, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, seeing Macargo in the lead once again. So going to space swap into our Taurus straight away. The opponent actually staying in here. And we're going to go for a bait, which I think is actually a smart play. It's pretty clear they're going to shield here. And they do come in with a Poliwrath. And now that we've boosted up our attack, this Trailblaze is going to do big damage in this matchup. So Trailblaze, number 2, going to be no-shielded. And it nearly gets the one shot. We actually get the double kick farm down as they come in with a Galissapod. So again, go for another Trailblaze. We are double boosted. They still no shield that. That's absolutely fine with us. We can now come in with the Ferrothorn, and since we've got a shield advantage, this is looking a lot more promising for the Volcanion in the back. And we are actually going to swap out straight away there, forcing the opponent to swap out, and this is huge for us. We can now just shield the Volcanion here. The opponent fires off the Rock Tomb. Doesn't really matter. Just because the opponent is going to double resist the Incinerate damage, we're actually also doing the same with the Water and Fire typing. It's going to be the charge views that matter in this matchup. They can double debuff us, but we're going to hit for double super effective damage with the Earth Power. We throw it straight away. Earth Power will be taking out Macargo. They come back in with Galissapod. They do reach a last second charge move, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Arc Jet doesn't get the KO. We come in with the Ferrothorn. Could have thrown a charge move, but instead we save some time. We go for the Bullet Seed farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see a Jellicent in the lead, so we are in a really good position here until the opponent catches a Power Whip double resisted onto their own Ferrothorn. Really nice catch there. We're now going to come in with the Volcanion, and this is still fine with us, of course. Going to hit for double super effective Incinerate damage. We are going to shield, though, because Power Whip is going to hit for neutral damage. We could have tanked that, but if we do let that go through, of course, Jellicent can come back in and probably just fully Hex Farm us down, whereas now we're going to force the opponent to at least throw a charge move, and here we actually go for the Overheat. Now, Overheat is resisted damage, but it's such a good move that it does do more damage, I believe, than an Earth Power, but of course, it does debuff our attack as well, so I don't know if that was necessarily the best play, but either way, we come in with our Taurus, and they've got a Registeel in the back, but they've got a shield advantage, and of course, Registeel has access to Zap Cannon, so not really the best situation here. It'll be interesting to see if Taurus can outpace them to 3 charge views. We need to get to 3 Arc Jets here. It's going to be incredibly close, but we fire off Arc Jet number 2. Arc Jet grabs the final shield from the opponent, and they outpace us by a single turn there. Incredibly painful, but Zap Cannon gets the KO. We can come in with the Ferrothorn, but Thunder is just not going to cut it here, and Focus Blast, if they're running it, going to hit for super effective damage. It will probably one-shot a Ferrothorn from this range. So at this point, the opponent reaches the charge move. Focus Blast does get the KO there, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into the next battle, Ferrothorn mirror match once again, and this time I'm going to stay in here. Looks like the opponent's possibly lagging, or maybe just a lot of desync there. It's kind of hard to tell. It was a very strange opening to this battle, but we swap. We then catch a charge move, which doesn't really help us out. We then shield it up and then get hard punished by a Gastrodon, so definitely not ideal for us. We do take the body slam though, and we can reach a overheat. Overheat once again going to be resisted, but it does big damage there. It puts them into range where of course we can bullet seed farm them down, and they're also not going to reach an earth power, so we can no shield this. Body slam is resisted damage. We're actually going to bank 100 energy, swap into Taurus, and we're met with their Ferrothorn. So again, going for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is resisted damage, but it's going to boost up the double kick damage, meaning these double kicks are absolutely shredding through this Ferrothorn. We're going to shield here as they fire off the Power Whip, and we go straight for Aqua Jet, but they make another brilliant catch there, catching onto the Jellicent, so definitely not ideal for us. This time we're going to overfarm as much as we can, fire off the Trailblaze on the CMP tie. However, it is a CMP tie, so unfortunately Taurus is going to be going down here to the Shadow Ball, but no, actually they bait with a Surf. We're going to bank the slither of health that we've got on our Taurus, come back in with the Ferrothorn, go for the Power Whip, get the KO there, and at this point this is going to be game over. Despite the brilliant catches from the opponent, it's just not going to be enough for them, as now, of course, we're still very healthy. We just need to reach a Power Whip to get the KO here. The opponent recognizing it's game over, and so they just concede the match. Now going into, I believe, the final battle of this video, once again leading into Jellicent. Last time they did catch the charge move, so this time around we're actually going to throw straight away. It looks like we even waited a turn there, but still the opponent catches onto Ferrothorn. Like, what the heck is going on? Unfortunately, they do catch the charge move, but we can come in once again with Volcanion. This time, gonna no shield this, playing it slightly differently, of course, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent comes in with Gastrodon, and we do go for the extra Incinerate, but we get fortunate. We get to the Earth Power. You can see Earth Power does do slightly less damage than that Overheat, even though Overheat would have been resisted. But either way, this is looking really comfortable for us right now. We can come in with the Taurus, fire off the Trailblaze there. We might as well shield at this point, I believe. The opponent is going to go for a Body Slam bait. Doesn't really matter. We can just possibly even double shield here. Nope, never mind. Gonna no shield. It is just a body slam. The opponent comes back in with the Jellicent, and we are now going to use a shield here, as we can now go for a Trailblaze. We are already boosted, so we might grab a shield here. Trailblaze is gonna grab that final shield. We can just come in with the Ferrothorn, and this should be game over right now. The opponent does reach the Shadow Ball, but it's just not enough damage. We can now overfarm as much as possible, fire off the Power Whip. Power Whip gets the KO there. They come back in with the Gastrodon. We can Bullet Seed, farm them down, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.